almost forgot what to say for a second. Welcome to Katy and Brian's music room.
That's right. Here we are in our music room. You can see that we have musical instruments behind us, and this is a room we talk about music, where we play music. And what are we talking about this week?
We're going to talk about Emitt Rhodes.
Emitt Rhodes. So Emitt Rhodes sadly just passed away this past week. He was 70 years old. But if you don't know about Emitt Rhodes is this amazing singer-songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, and just kind of like an underground icon, really. So the story of Emitt Rhodes is really, really fascinating, kind of tragic at the same time. He was in a kind of like a power pop bubblegum band from like the mid to late 1960s called the Merry-Go-Round, and this is the Merry-Go-Round's album.
See, I didn't know this part.
Yeah, so he was in this band called the Merry-Go-Round, and they weren't like insanely successful, but they played like a lot of shows, like opening up for like the Doors, Janis Joplin. So they were like legitimately playing with like amazing people.
What'd they sound like? What would they sound like most like?
Like bubblegum rock, like the Archies, like that song. Dun, 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 dun,
Oh,
dun,
really? Okay.
Honey. Like totally just.
Did they write their own songs?
They did. So Emitt Rhodes wrote a lot of their songs.
Makes sense.
And he was actually the drummer of this band at first, but then he became the guitar player. But as you probably know, as you can probably maybe guess, they didn't really take off. They had the one album, but then they owed the record company another album, but the band broke up. So Emmett went into the studio himself and recorded this album called Emitt Rhodes, The American Dream.
Was he wearing that awesome sweater?
I don't know. I think this is taken at a later date. But he recorded this album with the Wrecking Crew, like Hal Blaine, Jim Gordon.
Shit.
Yeah, great people like that. And
Did Carol Kay play on this?
Carol Kay I don't think plays on this, but we love Carol Kay as well. We will make a video about Carol Kay coming up next couple of weeks. But Larry Knechtel, just amazing musicians. But at the time, the label didn't want to release this album because no one really knew who Emitt Rhodes was, and they just did it to fulfill the contract, basically.
Yeah.
But the cool thing about it is, this album, the label paid Emmett some money, and he used all that money to, and I'll hand you this record, buy recording equipment. So he bought a 4-track recording machine and really nice microphones and instruments.
I feel like you would do that.
I would 100% do that. And, well, you do that too.
Yeah.
But he...
Buy like woodwinds or something.
You buy like woodwinds,
Crazy.
that's right.
Not practical.
But he bought all this recording equipment and set up in his parents' house and recorded this masterpiece of an album. This is his self-titled debut album. And he recorded all of this in his house with that recording equipment. All the instruments are played by him. All the vocals are done by him.
It's amazing.
It's unbelievable. And when this came out, a lot of people thought it might be the Beatles or Paul McCartney, because he sounds a lot like Paul McCartney.
Crazy.
And the songs are kind of in that like White Album Paul McCartney range, you know?
Yeah. And okay, so like he was recording and doing all of his things by himself. Was anybody else really doing that in that time? Because now that's such a thing that everybody does. Like everybody has some kind of recording equipment, that's gonna make music. Everybody's got a microphone. You can buy them you can come by them pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's a great point. I don't think a lot of people were doing this. I think like famously, of course, Paul McCartney did his first solo album, McCartney.
What about Jeff Lynne? Was he doing
that?
No,
at this time, Jeff Lynne was still in a band with Roy Wood. What were they called? The Move.
Oh, The Move. Okay.
And then The Move turned into Electric Light Orchestra.
Yeah.
And all
Yeah.
that
For
stuff.
those of you, Jeff Lynne, Electric Light Orchestra, ELO.
The Move, by the way, you should check out The Move. It's also a great band. Anyway, I'm diverting a lot. But at the time, people recording at home, it just wasn't really a thing, A lot of people didn't have the means to buy professional recording equipment like Emitt Rhodes did, and they just didn't have the know-how to do it also. But he is kind of like the godfather of home recording, and he's kind of the godfather of like that DIY indie rock mentality. I say indie rock because indie rock is still around now all the time, but the idea of just independently doing music on your own the way you want to do it, he is kind of the guy who started that.
Like trailblazed that?
Absolutely.
Well, what did you say Paul did though? First?
Paul did too, but in the sense of like, I mean, Emmett had way less of an advantage than Paul. I mean,
True.
had the fame and the money.
People didn't know of Emmett.
Yeah, Emmett just was in like kind of a no-name band that made a little bit of money, which he then had the knowledge to go and buy recording equipment to go make this debut album.
Were they both, do you think, timeline-wise, were they both Paul McCartney and Emitt Rhodes doing home recordings at the same time?
Yeah, so this album was released in, I think, like 1970, and Paul's McCartney album was released in 1970 as well. So they were kind of doing it at the same time. I could be wrong as far as like the months. There's probably some discrepancies there, but very similar. But the thing that's really interesting that you mentioned that is when this came out, a lot of people thought this was Paul McCartney.
I get that.
And he was, this is probably a bad thing, but it's also a compliment at the same time, but he was deemed the One-Man Beatles. Now that's a hard thing to live up to.
I'd take it.
Yeah. And
thank you so much.
In my opinion, I think he lived up to it because this album is so great. Every single song on this record is, in my opinion, perfect. It's amazing power pop, if you know what power pop is and you like power pop. It's amazing power pop. It's amazing just songwriting, singing. He does it all on this album. And it's just one of my all-time favorite albums. And one of the songs on this record is actually in the Wes Anderson movie, The Royal Tenenbaums. It's a song called Lullaby. And the story behind that is, I guess Jason Schwartzman, I was having a hard time saying his name, he told Wes Anderson about Emitt Rhodes. And so immediately they wanted to put that song in the movie. And that song kind of sparked more interest in Emitt Rhodes for present day. And I think that's probably how I got into him.
Yeah. Wes Anderson soundtracks have a way of doing that.
Yeah, and I think that's like, I love that he does that. I love that he finds these obscure artists who maybe have been forgotten about and then kind of revitalize their
brings
career.
them into the modern, or the, current, whatever. But
but the thing that's kind of crazy about this whole Emitt Rhodes story is that, okay, so he signed with ABC Dunhill Records, and he signed a 6-album deal, but the deal was so not cool.
Oh, that sucks.
Because they basically said, we want 2 albums a year. 2 albums a year for the next 3 years. So this album took Emitt Rhodes a year to record. So, which you can understand. He's doing everything himself.
Yeah.
So it took him a year to record. His second album is this album called Mirror, which I also love. And this one took 9 months to record. And it was released the next year in 1971, I believe. Yeah, 1971. And this one is just as good, in my opinion, as the first one. Very, very cool. Here's some shots of Emmett actually in his studio.
I don't know if they can see that.
I don't know if you can see that, but you can Google all his images too.
Is he in his house in the back?
Yeah, so this is his house. Katie will show you that. But, so the tragic part of the story is that he only actually ended up releasing 3 albums. So he didn't fulfill his contract, and he got sued by his label because he didn't fulfill the contract, and they kept money from him. So, and then the other thing that's really, really sad about all this is that this album was kind of a hit. So I think it got to like number 56 in the album charts, and then they released a single which got to like top 20 or maybe top 30 or something like that. But he basically, Emmett became really, really bitter, as I'm sure you could understand, because he was so talented. All the press were saying how great he was. He was the One-Man Beatles, but yet he didn't really have any hits. He wasn't selling any records. He wasn't making any money. So after this album, Farewell to Paradise, he just stopped completely. He just stopped making music. Yeah, he didn't make any more music, and that was it for a while. I think he became like an engineer for Elektra Records. He worked on some people's albums, but he kind of just faded away. But luckily, in like the late 80s, early 90s, there was like a resurgence of power pop, and people kind of rediscovered Emmett's music, and people were asking where is he and what's he doing now, and there was big interest in Emitt Rhodes again. And thankfully, he kind of did have a major resurgence because, like, the Bangles covered one of his songs on one of their albums in like the late 80s. And then like the Royal Tenenbaums thing happened. And then there was a documentary made about him, which is really great, called The One-Man Beatles, which I recommend looking up. It's online. You can watch it for free. And it's about this, I think it's an Italian director who flew to California to find Emitt Rhodes and just tell his story.
Yeah.
But it's a tragic story. It's a really tragic story.
I think that's like every musician's biggest fear is that like there's something's gonna happen, something's gonna transpire, and you're just gonna give up the ghost. It's just gonna be it, and you can't do it anymore.
I know it's like so heavy because
keep going, everybody.
Yeah, I mean
keep going.
That's the thing. And my personal theory about Emmett though is that I don't think he stopped recording music. I think he kept recording music.
Yeah.
I just don't think he released anything because he was just kind of like,
what's the point? This is
it's like I release it and nothing happens.
Or terrible things happen. I get sued.
Yeah. But there is a kind of a nice little tail into this. So he did end up recording one more album a couple of years ago called Rainbow's End. He recorded it with, I think Chris Price is his name, and he got a bunch of like major people to play on it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, like people from like Phantom Planet and like the Bangles sang backing vocals on it, and they got just a bunch of really, really...
that tracks with Jason Schwartzman.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
And I think some people from Brian Wilson's touring band actually ended up playing on the record too, and it was kind of a minor hit.
Yeah.
It's really different than his 70s material, but it's still good. It's just... It's him at that time, you know? But, we both love Emitt Rhodes, and... It's too bad he passed away, but his music will be here forever.
Yeah.
These albums are here forever, and we recommend that you check out his music. Like I said, he's only got 3 official albums, and then this album, American Dream, it's from those sessions that he recorded for the label they didn't release, but they actually ended up releasing this after he released his debut album because it was kind of a hit, so they put this out.
Yeah, they figured they've got.
And this is great too.
Not? Yeah.
But I know you wanted to talk about your favorite Emmett song.
Oh, yeah. My favorite song is Tame the Lion by Emitt Rhodes. So if you are... I think that's like I think that's the first song. So I found out about him through you. I think you were just like playing it and I was like, oh, wait. I'm sorry. This is amazing. Who is this? And then I think if you've never heard him before, that's a really nice place to start.
Totally agree.
It's a really good song. I mean, that's so true of like pretty much all of his songs. They're solid, really well crafted. There's always a hook to be sung, to be found. Yeah. The production is awesome. So yeah, that's my favorite. What's your favorite?
I love Tame the Lion as well. That's actually the last song he ever released too. So that's not on any of the albums. It was a standalone single.
Yeah.
Which is kind of amazing that that's the last song he released. I think my favorite song might be. I love With My Face on the Floor on this debut album. I also love She's Such a Beauty.
Oh, that's a good one. That kind of reminds me of Nielsen a little bit.
It is very Nielsen. It's also very like Martha My Dear-esque Paul McCartney.
Totally.
But to be totally honest with you, I love everything he did. So when he died, the day he died, I listened to all of these albums in a row. I started with Merry Go Round and worked my way all the way up to this last one. And the whole time I was listening, I kept thinking, like, am I going to get bored because I'm listening, to all this music all together? I didn't get bored once, and the whole time I wanted to go back and listen to other songs. It was like, I really realized, like, wow, I really, really love Emitt Rhodes. And I have to give a shout out to my friend Johnny Lloyd Rollins. You should check out Johnny Lloyd Rollins' music as well. He showed me Emitt Rhodes for the first time. I was 19 years old. I just joined a band with a bunch of older guys. They were all in like their mid to late 20s, so they were all way ahead as far as like their musical education. And he was like, he knew I loved the Beatles and the Beach Boys and all that stuff. And he said, you got to hear Emitt Rhodes. And he was so right. So I thank you so much, John Lloyd Rollins.
I think Somebody Made for Me is another one that's one of my top. That one's so
great. And on actually his last album from the 70s, there's a song on here that I really, really love a lot. It's called, I think it's, See No Evil. Second track on here is really, really great as well. And the last song here is really good too, Farewell to Paradise.
Oh yeah, track. I've heard that. Yeah, see, I don't think I know, I'm not as like well-versed in his entire catalog, but the songs or this record for sure. I know this one. Sorry.
The debut one, yeah.
This one I know, but...
That's an absolute classic.
Yeah.
I don't say this a lot, but I put that up there with pretty much all of my favorite albums, like Pet Sounds, Revolver, obviously it's not. Pet Sounds and Revolver are their own things, and they can't be touched. But it's up there with those albums. It's really that good.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's it.
Yeah, we love Emitt Rhodes, and if you don't know about him, definitely check out his music, and we think you'll like it.
This guy. Check him out.
Yeah.
He also has great taste in shirts.
Yeah, he does.
That's a great shirt.
I
would wear that shirt.
Yeah. And guitars.
Yeah, it's a good guitar. All right, that's going to do it. So, like we said in the other video, if you're into what we've got going on, click that subscribe button. You can also click that little notification bell and let you know when we upload new videos. And we'll be back. Gonna keep it loose, kind of once a week, maybe.
Yeah.
We're just gonna keep it loose and easy. When we get inspired, we'll
I almost forgot one important thing. We will be doing an Anchor and Bear full band live stream August 1st, which is a Saturday at 7 o'clock.
That's our band.
Yeah, it'll be on Facebook, and we'll make a video talking a little bit more detail about it. But mark on the calendars, August 1st, this Saturday, 7 p.m. live stream, Anchor and Bear.
You're so safe. All you have to do is just go online and watch from the comfort of your own home.
You're so safe.
You're so safe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bye for now.
Goodbye. Ah.